Government absolutely has a spending problem, not a revenue problem. All you have to do is look at our current deficit that we're operating under, $1.6 trillion proposed in the next year by President Obama, and a debt, a $14 trillion debt that this country is weighed down by currently. 41 cents of every dollar spent in Washington is borrowed money. We clearly have a spending problem. And like you and I do in our homes every day, when times get tough, we tighten our belts, we buckle down, and we make sacrifices in order to live within our means, and the federal government should have to do the same. Well, as you know, I do support Paul Ryan's budget, the Path to Prosperity, which cuts $6.2 trillion in spending over the course of the next 10 years. Of course, President Obama's proposed budget that came out a couple of weeks prior to our answer to that had about $1.5 trillion in tax increases. So instead of curbing spending, the President has proposed that we increase the country's revenue. As I have already stated, we do have a spending problem. We don't have a revenue problem. And there are no sacred cows. We've got to make sure that we are making responsible decisions when it comes to how this country spends money. But clearly, based on the numbers that I've already given you with our deficit and our debt, we have got to cut spending. And Paul Ryan's proposed budget does just that. Well, as a new member of Congress, of course, I've had an opportunity to sign on to, as a co-sponsor, to many different pieces of legislation that I feel or I have felt are important pieces of legislation for the people I represent here in Alabama. But just this last week, as a new freshman member of Congress, I was given the opportunity to be an original co-sponsor with my name on the bill to defund Planned Parenthood. This is an important issue to me. I am unapologetically pro-life. I believe that I have a responsibility to fight for the unborn. And so given this opportunity to have my name on this piece of legislation, this very important piece of legislation, in order to cut federal tax dollars from going to an organization that funds abortions was very, very important. This measure passed the House. It was a concurrent resolution that we took up as part of the continuing resolution deal. We took it up in the House. We passed it. Unfortunately, it failed in the Senate. But it was a real opportunity to demonstrate to this country, to take the temperature of those senators that are unwilling to see that forcing taxpayer dollars to go toward an issue that many find to be immoral and wrong is not what this country was founded on. So it was a very unique opportunity. This early on, I think congressmen can go several years without having the opportunity to have their name on a piece of legislation. So it was a real privilege to step forward and to be a part of that legislation. I think it's very important that people understand that there are federal tax dollars that are being handed over to organizations that perform abortions. And in the case of Planned Parenthood, they are an organization that brings in millions and millions of dollars and has the ability to operate and continue to provide whatever other health services they have without government assistance. The money that we send to Planned Parenthood is fungible, meaning that if they are performing abortions and the federal government is giving them dollars, you can bet those dollars are going toward the expenses associated with those abortions. And I continue to remain steadfast in that I will continue to fight for the unborn and for the American people who find it grotesque that their tax dollars go toward an organization like this. So yes, you will see it again, and I can't highlight enough the importance of 2012, and as you saw on the Senate side, the number of senators that voted against this. So look forward to the 2012 elections as well. Yes, it does. It cuts the $800 billion contained in President Obama's Obamacare, which has now been called frequently. And yes, we have taken on programs that taken out programs that we believe and the Budget Committee believes at this point in time with our spending problems are not a responsible use of your taxpayer dollars. We all know that the Constitution very clearly outlines the role of the federal government, the role of the Congress, the role of the U.S. House of Representatives, and what our responsibilities are. And over time, we have turned the Constitution on its head. Instead of states being in the driver's seat, now that states have become so dependent on federal dollars that it's just kind of turned things around. We've got to get back to what our forefathers envisioned for this country and remain steadfast in our commitment to the 10th Amendment, but also make sure that states know that they don't have to depend on the federal government for every dollar that comes down. No one wants to. Remember, federal dollars equals federal control. And so when it comes to a lot of these spending programs, I believe that it will free up our states and our local municipalities and counties to be able to make decisions on their own without unfunded mandates from the federal government. I'd like to touch on one other thing, and that's regulation. We have a spending problem, but we also have overburdensome regulation. And what you have seen over the course of the past couple of months is in each committee in the U.S. House of Representatives is oversight, hauling in all of these federal agencies, this fourth branch of the government that overregulates private industry to the extent that it's a dark cloud hanging over individuals' ability to create jobs. So EPA, the National Labor Relations Board, the U.S. Department of Education, just pick one. And we have been taking these people, bringing these people in before our committees, making sure that we understand exactly what they're doing to harm small business, and then seeing what we can do about it to do away with these overburdensome regulations. So I have been a supporter of several bills, including one which dealt with a pesticide issue for EPA and freed up our farmers' ability to farm, which is what they want to do. So I will continue and again remain committed to making sure that we are removing this cloud of uncertainty and repealing these job-killing regulations. I've said many times that you sent me to Congress to make tough decisions, and I promise you there is no lack of tough decisions to be made. Again, as you have seen in the news most recently with the continuing resolution for 2011, we just now passed our budget for 2012, and of course we are up against this debt ceiling vote probably end of June, maybe 1st of July. These are difficult decisions, and these are difficult days. But like I said before, you and I and every owner of a business have tightened their belts over the course of the past couple of years. It is time that we require the same of the federal government. So what I see in the future coming months and days is are more tough decisions as it relates to spending, the course that this country's on. We're turning around a really big ship, and it doesn't turn on a dime. So we're going to take each of these issues up, and again, I want you to know that I remain committed to you, to our conservative principles, both socially and fiscally, and I just want to make sure that the people that I represent know that our office is always available. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your suggestions. We want to hear your positions, because this is the people's house. This is the U.S. House of Representatives, and I represent you. And I can't fight for you adequately if I'm not hearing from you. So I would invite anyone who would like to talk to me or talk to my staff, please reach out to us. So in these coming days and weeks and months, I know exactly how to best represent the people who I represent in Washington. Thank you so much for for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today and give you an update about what's happening in Washington and how that affects us right here in Alabama's 2nd Congressional District. Please feel free to pick up the phone, email, join us on Facebook so that I can hear from you. Please join us next time so we can give you another congressional update.